All right, guys, we're rolling here today. I'm excited to talk to a couple of new agency owners. This is fun because I'm an agency owner, and I've got Josh Reyes and Joseph Cornell on the line with me today. And you guys both have recently, like within the last year or two, I think, started an agency, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, well, congratulations! Like you took the
Thank
leap.
you.
So
Thank you.
I
Yeah, it's
wanna.
huge.
It's a big leap. And I love talking to other agency owners who are kind of like figuring it out and, like kind of fine tuning your craft and figuring out how to like scale that to clients and stuff. So, uh, the internet is a funny thing too, because I think you guys maybe found us on Reddit, our podcast on Reddit or YouTube or something like that. And then we connected and we're like, yeah, let's podcast together. So it's good to have y'all here. Let's start with you,
Yeah.
Josh. Give us a quick kind of background on who you are and what you're about.
So, my background in the marketing and creative realm is primarily within graphic design. I've been in the marketing industry, the creative industry, for about 10 years now. I've worked with some pretty decent sized brands. Warner Music was one of my first gigs. I've worked with PacSun. I've worked with Live Nation. So kind of different realms. It's from entertainment, music and fashion, to even finance. So yeah, so I've been primarily in in-house teams, serving as design as a design contributor within those teams. But I think pretty early on, I definitely knew that I was just kind of destined to kind of just go out and on my own. I just knew that I wanted to do that. I loved the experience. I love the people that I worked with. Fantastic teams, fantastic, talented creatives. Learned so much from all of them. But I just knew that setting just wasn't quite right for me. And I knew that I wanted to start an agency at some point in my career. I didn't know when. I just knew at some point. And I think last year I kind of got to that point and I was just like, I'm ready. I'm ready to take the leap. I'm actually not ready, but I'm going to take the leap right now. so yeah.
That's how it is. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You're just someone who has the bug, I think, and then you're never really ready. But one day you just have to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. 1000%.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I've got some questions for you as we get into like sort of like in-house versus transitioning into agency and like the state of design today. And Joseph, so you're at Traveling Tribe Media. You also started your agency. Like, tell us about who you are, what you focus on, and what you're about.
right. So I have a background in film production and documentary production, and television as well, where we are telling stories. So I've been telling stories for about causes and about characters for about 10 years, and shaping them visually and thematically. And so now I'm more interested in taking that knowledge and experience and applying it for brands to help show the human side of their brand, putting a face to their brand, and showing how they can show up sort of like as the Mr. Miyagi or the Obi-Wan or Rafiki, to guide their clients to sort of overcome their obstacles and achieve their goals.
Yeah, I love it. Do y'all watch Cobra Kai? This is a total side note, but I've been really into Cobra Kai this year. And so Mr. Miyagi's been on my brain. No.
Nice.
Okay, so Joseph, let's start with you a little bit about video, because I think that in this world of AI and like it's so easy now to like, oh, I'll just go like make this quick graphic, or I want both of your takes on this, or I'll do this video, like AI video. I think that the human experience, you said something about like showing the humans behind the brand, is going to be more important than ever before. And I really think that people are going to get like kind of like, yeah, I've seen it before. Like, it's so like, that's fake. You know, I think we're going to start having like more of our spidey senses come up about that.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the ways that you can work with, let's just say like, let's just take a brand that doesn't feel very human and use video to show the human behind it. And maybe you've done a project where, you know, you've like had to approach a brand that way and like figure out how to show their story with video. How do you go about it?
Right, I'm trying to think of like a specific brand that doesn't really feel very human, but also speaking like specifically to AI, I have a
Yeah.
lot of mixed feelings about it. I think it unlocks a lot of possibility for small creators and for brands that maybe don't have the budgets of mega corporations to produce ads in that way. And there's ways that I think can be sort of ethically integrated into workflows to create content and ads. And then there's also ways that you can do it to just, replace jobs and other types of things like that, and remove the artist from creating the art.
Yeah.
But like one thing, an application that I think would serve businesses very well in both adding the human element to their branding would be video clones. I think is something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of, and it's going to give opportunities for founders and CEOs that don't have time to show up and schedule and set up the lights and cameras and microphones. They'll be able to sit down, shoot a 5-minute video one day, and capture their image and their voice and their mannerisms and everything, and then be able to input text and generate a video where they can show up regularly every day if they want to. We're still very authentic, but removes the hassle of actually creating and shooting the videos on a daily basis.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I haven't done it. Oh, have you done that yet?
Yeah, I've experimented a bit with that. I've shot a few videos just to test it out. I have a colleague that does a similar thing for a physical rehab clinic where they have their therapists record their clone video, and then they can go in and they can put in different types of techniques or advice or different, talk about the different services and therapies they offer. And then it's right now the point where you can't necessarily just put that out. It gets kind of weird, but if you're cutting to B-roll and other like stock footage even, it sort of does become seamless.
Yeah. This is random, but going back to your background in documentaries, I really like documentaries. What's like a really cool one that you worked on or something that you really liked the story of?
Yeah, so the favorite documentary that I worked on was Humans and Other Animals, and that's available to stream right now on the major streamers. But that was really fun. We got to travel quite a bit for that. We got to meet so many different scientists and researchers in respective fields with different animals, everything from like crows to coyotes and prairie voles, and getting into how human they are as well, and all the different types of similarities. Like it's actually amazing some of the things that we learned through working with that we didn't discover, but that we talked to people that did discover that prairie voles have. Can you hear me okay? I'm getting an echo back on my side.
Yeah.
But even though like prairie voles have their own language with syntax, and that we can that scientists have recorded that and been able to transcode some of it with AI programs.
That's cool. That's cool.
So going in and saying, anyway, I go on for hours about that.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I'll check it out. Is it like I'll go find it. I love documentaries. Okay, Josh, your take on AI as a graphic designer. Like anything interesting that you're seeing, or even like feeling or thinking about as our world evolves with like AI getting so much into marketing.
I, for the most part, I am really trying to embrace AI. I feel that
Mhm.
it's just it's this new tool that's been introduced into our sphere as creatives that we must adapt to,
Mhm.
yeah, I do have mixed feelings about it as well in certain aspects. Um, but as I kind of take stock of those things, they're definitely tied into the old, the old environment of, the
Mhm.
marketing and creative space. And, that involving the loss and replacement of jobs through AI, I, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like, in a way, so many designers, I mean, even myself have experienced that impact. Because, those simple things that, you or, that small number of people on the creative team could do can now be easily done by any random admin person with a Canva account, and
Yeah.
so it's yeah, I think at first I definitely had some mixed feelings about it, um but being a newly minted agency owner, um I wear multiple hats. I do have a design background, but now I'm a business owner. I'm a marketing director, a creative strategist now. I have to use AI to manage all of these things and to
Yeah.
execute on them as well. So, bottom line, I think it's an incredible and it's an incredible new technology that is constantly getting better every day, and I feel that it's really, really important to embrace it and to leverage it for your own success.
Yeah, I fully agree, and I like that you said like I've got this new lens as a business owner. You're like you got to figure out how to embrace things, how to shift with the change, and how to like be a creative but run
Yep,
a business.
yep,
And that's not always something like it's not easy to run a business,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
sometimes if you are a creative. Sometimes, like,
exactly.
your brain works in a different way, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I have to do QuickBooks."
yes,
No thanks,
yes,
but you have to, and you have to figure out how to like be as efficient as you can while also giving yourself creative space. I have found so words are more my love language. So like I've got a design team, but I'm not the best designer. I have an eye for it, but like I really get into words and brand strategy and story. And I have just found that like with AI, I can take the work that used to take like a week and do it
yes,
in a day. And that
yes,
makes me be able to serve more small businesses, because like
yep,
you can just work a little bit faster. So
yeah,
I'm on board with you guys. I think it's all about like how do you embrace it,
yeah. How
and
exactly?
it's out of the box. Like it's not going back in the box. So I think
Yeah,
people who figure out how to embrace it will be fully employable.
absolutely,
That's what I'm.
absolutely.
That's sort of my perspective. Okay, so let's get a little bit into brand and cutting through the noise. I want to get your perspectives and talk a little bit about like what makes a brand voice unique. How do you think businesses can develop a personality that resonates rather than just like blending in? Because one of the things that I'm noticing is like there's 1,000 products for every sort of like need. Particularly, I do a lot of B2B SaaS, and I'm like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. They all sort of do the same thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
how do you
exactly.
get around that?
I think I think for a company to really cut through the noise, I think it's so important to understand their brand voice and understand their essence of core values for what they're trying to provide. And then on top of that, in a more technical way, I think it's really important to understand what their promise is. understand how what they're delivering on product wise, how that is different from their competitors. It's different from it's the brand promise and the brand, I guess, essence is they're two separate things, but they're two really important things that I feel are able to be the foundation of a really strong brand. You know, yeah, just understanding those core values, being very consistent with what they offer, what are their pillars of what they offer as a company, but then also how they are different from their competitors. Really being able to define that through messaging, through visuals. That's the most important part, and that's the way they can cut through for sure.
Going into like specifically into visuals, how do you approach doing that just through the visual communication?
Well, for any kind of visual campaign, you know, visual brand, visual identity, it all starts with understanding those foundational aspects of the brand. So, you know, brand voice, brand essence, brand mission, all of those things are really, really important to establish your visual identity, because you can, you know, there can be plenty of examples out there of brands, especially new brands, with very great visual identity, but the problem is they're not really cutting through the noise, because there are so many similar companies out there with very similar branding, with very similar consistency within their visual brand. But what really makes a strong brand is really understanding your values, really understanding what you promise your potential customers and your current customers, and building the visual brand based on those core values. So, you know, like even from color choices to you know, visual references of kind of like design era references, you know, like if a company is wanting to say, oh, I want to incorporate kind of 70s flower power designs, because that is reminiscent of you know, the civil rights movement, or not the civil rights movement, but like you know, activism during, you know, times of war. And one of our core values is, you know, standing up for world peace. You know what I mean? It's just like all of those core values are so important to really establish first as a brand, as leadership of a company or ownership of a company, before you can kind of step into developing your visual identity.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that you have to like figure out the values and the words and all of that first. I fully agree. Like design comes after that to support, I think, what that promise is. So I really love that you said that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, fully behind that. So Joseph, like how do you do that through video? So like let's take it more into like the video communications and kind of differentiating.
Right. So I think that it starts with the brands identifying their core values, and then it goes through the like the visual branding that you know, what like Josh does with, you know, setting up the graphics, setting up the identity guidelines, and then going from there to conceptualize different video strategies that would, you know, promote those core elements and standing out from other businesses. I think that really it is locking into story and shaping that in ways that resonate with audiences, because I think that audiences and you know, it's like, it's no secret, like people love video. That's our favorite leisure time activity right now. We're scrolling all day on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and then only broken up by video ads, and then at the end of the day, we retired to the couch or bed and watched Netflix or something like that. So and during all that time, we're building these parasocial relationships, and so I think that's sort of what we want to do for brands, is create, sort of show them either as the guide or as the friend that they want, or if we're incorporating characters into these ads, like the audience is going to project themselves as that individual, the protagonist or hero or whatever that is experiencing the type of issues that the brand solves. And sometimes it's just that they're hungry, or they want to find the best margarita, and and if your brand can help them find that, that's a great start.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like video is a way for people to interact more. I think of it as like they can escape into the story better, like the best through video. So even if I'm watching, like, let's say I'm watching a Chili's commercial and it makes me want to go get that, like, El Presidente margarita, I think they're back. I don't know. The commercials are on lately. And it's just like, even something as simple as that, like, yeah, it's taking me into this new place and like realm of escape almost, where I'm like I'm going into that space. Like, yeah, like, and escape into a different place in my mind. And I think it sounds to me like, and maybe we're sort of saying this, is when you're building a brand and you're trying to differentiate words, purpose, promise, then visual communication and design. And then once all of that is sorted out, that's when video comes in. So it's almost like you have to have these, like, the foundation, and like then another brick and another brick and another brick, and you like lay these bricks to make the whole building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, so let's talk about we talked a little bit about video, the art of storytelling. Let's talk about some, like, I don't know, some trends maybe. I want to go a little bit off of a script from our notes for a little bit, because I want to talk about what y'all are seeing. We talked about AI, but I want to talk about any other trends you're seeing in the creative space this year that you're finding really interesting, both from a design perspective and from a video perspective. Anything else beyond AI that's piquing your interest?
I find it really interesting kind of seeing basically modern retro, as far as, like, yeah, maybe 10 years ago we saw the kind of trend of mid-century design and all that stuff. Now you're seeing references from the 90s, from the Y2K era, but it's through the lens of a new generation, so it's, to me, I think that's really interesting, is kind of seeing all of these, Y2K era references, but, from kind of a more youthful, and I guess just a 2025 lens on it, so
Yeah.
for me that's been really interesting.
How so? Like, what's an example of one that you like that stood out to you?
Let's see.
Y2K takes me back to the party, by the way, that I was at, like, during we're like, it's midnight. Is the power gonna be on?
No, totally. I feel like in I'm seeing it a lot in fashion, I mean, and I guess in a lot on my social feed, and maybe this kind of ties into video. You're seeing just so, and I feel like this kind of did start organically with user generated video. You were seeing a lot of these filters that made, your content look like it was a camcorder from the 90s,
Yeah.
And I feel that trend, that kind of overall look really just kept building momentum. And I just started to notice, random visual elements popping up in just, new clothing brands, kind of more boutique clothing brands that I can't really think of their names right now, but yeah, the 90s to early 2000s references, to me has been
Yeah.
interesting to see, really interesting to see.
Yeah. My daughter really wanted a Nirvana sweatshirt for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like, you haven't even ever listened to Nirvana, but like it's hip.
it
It's
is.
on, yeah, it's the thing. Like, oh, it's cool,
Totally.
and
Totally.
like they're all wearing them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I think it all kind of ties in, like all of these like visual elements in graphic design, in video editing, it all so ties in to just popular culture because, during my
Mhm.
time at PacSun, um, you were seeing brands like resurgences of brands like Guess and Tommy
Mhm.
Hilfiger and just, yeah, not brands that really kind of defined 90s style, um, coming
Yeah.
back and seeing young people wearing these same styles really,
Yeah.
and yeah, very interesting. But yeah, I think it all ties in, from popular culture, from music to clothing to, design elements, and
Yeah.
video as well.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned like that film, that like filter, like the camcorder filter.
Yeah.
What about you, Joseph? Like what's a trend that's you're sort of seeing, and or something that's piquing your interest in the creative space?
Well, I think that I think there is a lot of that. I think that people are liking to see images that are shot in a more like filmic look with softer focuses, with more um, diffused color, and but mostly I think that people are wanting to see video from people that like they know or kind of know, and that
Mm,
we're seeing more like micro and macro influencers, that are, that brands are recognizing. I think micro and macro influencers have been recognized for quite a while,
mhm,
but I feel like I'm seeing people that I follow with much smaller follower accounts being shared in sponsored ads now.
mm,
That they're like, oh, I know that. I don't know that person, but I've been following that person for quite a while, and I've seen them sort of grow as musicians
mhm,
or runners or anything like that, and
mhm.
so I think there's a lot of room for the unpolished look, for a lot of the just very specific niche and influencer style ads.
Yeah.
Where
I
it's no longer like the Coke can like spinning with colors and flashing
Yeah.
and strobes and that type of thing. It's like, hey, this is my day in New York City. I'm walking around. I'm gonna go visit this restaurant, and I'm gonna wear this shirt or whatever during that.
Yeah. I remember when I first started seeing some commercials and ads for like software companies where, it's just like a guy who looks like he's sitting in his mom's basement and like telling you about the software platform. And at first, I remember, and maybe a couple years back, I started really noticing this, thinking like, that's kind of unprofessional, and like, yeah, it's not all the glitz and glam, like professional, commercial studio shoot, but you see it so much more now. And I think it's because like it's what's working.
Yeah.
It's people do the math, like they look at the analytics, it's what's working. And I think it's probably that realness and that authenticity because of the way our world's evolved around social media. And then maybe even more so, and it will continue in that trend because of AI, to where it's like, Yeah, like that real, oh, like this guy Joe is sitting telling me about this. He must actually work there.
Yeah.
I believe this, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the sort of my take on that. Have y'all noticed that? Did y'all ever
Yeah.
think that when you started seeing ads like that? Like,
Yeah, no, it's so funny. It's so funny how the perspective has really shifted. Um,
mhm,
and it's, I mean, perhaps this is kind of a reach on a deep dive, but I honestly feel it kind of comes down to it kind of comes down to us with the fact that we crave authenticity. And
mhm,
it's kind of why even before social media platforms were really being embraced. I mean, the most popular genre of television show at the time was like reality TV. We were really craving authentic content, even though it was very scripted and produced, and the world
yeah,
was just like really wanting to see that. And then all of a sudden we have Facebook, but then really Instagram was kind of one of the big pushes once it started having video, of course. um, and
mhm,
I guess you could put YouTube in that mix as well. When we just started seeing content created by users, we were locked in. We wanted to look
mhm,
at this stuff, from the memes to the fails to just people talking about the hobby that they like doing. We
yeah,
really we crave authenticity, and there's nothing
yeah,
more authentic than a dude or a girl in their basement or in their
yeah.
bedroom talking about this thing that they just bought that you might also buy.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that, and I mean, I started doing videos a while ago, probably 5, 6 years ago, like walking and talking. Like most of my videos, like they're not professional at all. Like I'm walking through my neighborhood. I'm like just
Yeah,
out walking in the woods and talking, you know. But it's
yeah,
like, yeah, you see more. I was thinking about the studying on Instagram, like commercials that I was seeing. I was scrolling through and I was seeing like, oh, there's a girl who looks like she's just sitting in her living room. Oh, there's a guy who looks like he's just like sitting on his porch. Oh, there's
yeah,
another girl who's like, and it's funny because I was thinking about it, it's like nobody has these like fancy backgrounds. It's not high production. Everybody literally just looks like they're in their house, which is really like it's this remote world that so many of us live in anyway. So I think that could be another part that sort of resonates because everyone's sort of living, not everyone, but a lot of people are living in this like remote culture now,
yeah,
you know? So
absolutely.
that could have something to do with it too. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
everybody's just like in their house, you know,
yeah,
doing their
exactly.
thing.
Yeah,
And you
totally.
see everybody's house now, like you see
Yeah,
into people's space,
yes, absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's have a fun question as we close up and wrap up. Would you rather
Nice.
work on a Super Bowl commercial or a long-term YouTube series?
Yeah, so
Go
there's
for it.
very few. I mean, I love watching Super Bowl commercials,
You
but
each get to answer.
there's very few that I can remember over the years. Like maybe this Snoop Dogg opening like a pistachio or something like that. But yeah, there's very few that I can remember. Whereas like working on a YouTube series, I would love that opportunity to build a following, to build an engagement, to those are the ride or die customers and an audience that is going to be interested in what your business offers over the long term, and that's going to set your business up for success over the long term as well. Whether that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
podcast series or just like a series of ads that runs over the years, or like the flow, the progressive from flow, or it's like, okay, that's that quirky character that that I'm going to
Yeah.
remember for a long time. Like there's a few like mascots that we can remember over like they haven't ran the Taco Bell Chihuahua in years, but they repeat it over and over, and like that's still stuck in our head. um So
Yeah.
whether it's a long-running ad campaign or a YouTube series, yeah, I would like the opportunity to build over the long run.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you, Josh?
Yeah,
I feel that.
What was that? Oh, wait. Oh,
No, I said I feel you on that, like the long term, like the bigger
yeah.
picture.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that. I think in order for really messaging and marketing to actually be worth anything, it has to connect. It has to hit. And I think you are definitely gambling when you think that you're going to resonate with an audience with one 30-second segment on television, which television as well is struggling to keep the attention of the public. All of us are most of us are very much looking and consuming content on the small screen that's inside our pockets, and so I absolutely would go for a long-term YouTube series. And yeah, there's just something authentic. There's nothing more authentic than that, And I think the goal, the challenge of any person, developing content is finding that authenticity. And yeah, I think that's the only way to do it is through, a long run.
Yeah. Yeah. Long run. There's one one Super Bowl commercial from this year that I remember. And the only reason I remember it was because then the next day or two later, I was listening to a Howard Stern episode and they were talking about it. And it was the Doritos commercial. That's like literally the only reason why then it got solidified. And they were like, I really like that commercial. I don't know if y'all watched it or remembered that
I'm
one.
trying to remember if I caught that one or not. But who was there any celebrities in that one, or what was the concept of that one?
It was like an alien, and I don't know. See, I don't really remember. That's the thing. I don't really know.
Exactly.
Like, I remember that they talked about it, and Howard was like, "I liked that commercial," and I was like, "Why? I didn't think it was that good." He was like, I like that one. So that's the reason why I remember it. But to your, okay, bring it all home. I remember that commercial because someone who is a long-standing radio DJ talked about that commercial.
Exactly. He was the one with the influence in that.
He was the one with the influence to make me remember it.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
So that's interesting.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, Josh and Joseph, it's been really good to get to know you guys and talk about kind of creative and visual design and video in 2025. If people want to follow you, get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? And I'll start with you, Josh.
Find me on Instagram. I'm still in the process of building my audience, and I would love for any of you listening, I'd love for you to join me on there. You can find me at Asymtry Studio on Instagram. I'm excited to see you guys there. Cool. Please reach out.
Awesome.
And then, you can find me on Instagram, Traveling Tribe Media, at Traveling Tribe Media. And yeah, thank you so much, Taylor. It's been a pleasure and great experience to come on and talk with you on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been real fun.
Talk some shizzle with you.
Yeah.
Talk some shizzle. Well,
thank you so much.
Absolutely. This was fun. And hats off to both of you for getting your own agencies going. So
Thank you.
we'll chat more. Maybe we'll find some ways to collaborate in our creative worlds. Yeah.
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
All right, folks. Well, I hope this was helpful and gave you some new ideas. Oh, sorry. All right, folks. So I hope this was helpful, gave you some new ideas to think about as you are building a brand in 2025 or retooling your brand and your content strategy. Until next time, I hope you get all your good shizzle done.